I just like fueling the fire. I'm just like, yo, guys, what if it's mid though?
What if it's mid?
I look like someone who likes to spark flames. Look at me. Look at my fire-resistant arm, bro. I start the flames, then I chuck my shirt over it and put it out. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the HGO podcast, a spooky edition of the HGO podcast. I am a being from your nightmares of your own creation, Ethan, and joining me as always are my good friends, Hunter and Kyle. Hey guys, how you doing?
Hello.
I'm doing just swell.
Happy
Not
Halloween!
much rest to take off the uniform.
Yeah.
To talk to us.
Hunter, we told you to come in a costume, for God's sake. Like,
He just dressed
yeah.
like himself.
Yeah, they were giving me grief about this right before we recorded. And listen, man, I'm sorry that my clothes just are spooky anyway. I can't do anything about it unless you want me to dress like a normie for some reason next year.
I feel like that's what people are going to be like. People are going to tune into this episode and they're going to be like, God damn it, Hunter's dressed like Hunter, Ethan's dressed as a girl again, and Kyle just looks like Kyle. So it's like, well done, guys. Good year. Good year.
Hey, at least I don't have lights going in the background this time.
Oh, true.
Not gonna take
This is true.
Bo Burnham killed my fucking PC last time. That is true.
It was very funny, though. And I'm still very sorry for that, but I would not take it back. It was funny.
It was funny. It took 16 hours. It took 6 years to render, but you know, it's fine. So yeah, welcome back to the show, everybody. Where every Monday we come to you and talk about everything in love in the world of gaming. Happy Halloween! This is actually happening. Yep. It is Halloween as this podcast is going out. So we hope you're ready. We hope you aren't too horrified by the sight of whatever the fuck this is. Like, hello, did you ever imagine seeing this much of my chest? Like, look at this, bro. Look at this. Usually we save this for HGO Max. This is like the exclusive content right here. I know, right? Crazy.
For audio listeners, we dressed up this year, and
we did last year, and I did the year before. So like, this is 3 on 3.
I also did the year before. Thank you.
I did not get the memo the year before.
Yeah, it was just Kyle. So,
but Ethan is dressed like Mio from Xenoblade 3.
Hiya.
What are you dressed as, Kyle?
You are Chad Narukami.
Chad Narukami from Persona 4, yes.
Did you learn the dance?
And Hunter's Hunter. I did not learn the dance.
I am the protagonist of the yet-to-be-released game Crowsworn. Go look it up. It looks like it's going to be great. Yeah,
so Hunter cheated. I spent way too much money, and Kyle just looks like Kyle's got a jacket that's probably way too small for him because it came from. So did Ethan. This is horrifying. If you ever wondered why Ethan always has facial hair, let me tell you, it's because look at me. I look like I'm now 18 again, and I'm 25. What is this? Dude. It's not fair.
Shit sucks.
I also want to go out of the way that I've already showed you guys in the pre-show, but I do have the Ouroboros mark, and it is Mio's, by the way. It is 3 months to live right here. So I did go out of the way. It might still be here next week as well. Who knows? I don't. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, the skirt doesn't, nothing fits, but this fits. The jacket fits, and that's all that matters. Ignore this fucking tragedy. This you're not getting anything lower. That's all I'm saying. This is perfect. But
dude, it's funny how hit and miss costumes can be about the quality of like certain parts of it. Because last year, the pants and the coat I got for Joker were both real good. Like, the pants shocked me with how nice they were. Actually, they were very comfy.
Last year, the skirt I got was
sucked.
Last year, the skirt I got was really far too big for me. Never mind. Whichever person they envisioned, whichever woman they envisioned buying that, I don't know why, but it was way too big. And the shirt fit quite. I liked the shirt. The shirt was pretty decent. It fit quite well. The jacket, it's like all the money went into the jacket. The jacket's pretty fucking sick, to be honest. I like the jacket.
Yeah. It's a nice jacket.
But you don't want to see the skirt. The skirt literally, it does not fit me. It's the zip had to be all the way down. It is on. That's all I'll say. I'll never tell. You'll never see the rest. But it's all fun. And let me tell you this, Twitter.com, you are never voting again. Like, I'm not doing this a third year in a row. This is not a trifecta. I'm not doing it because people will be like, Zelda next year. Am I right, Ethan? No. Fucking hell, no. But yeah. So there you go.
Try and coordinate costumes next year.
Who knows? I don't know what I'm going to do next year. We'll have to see
Well,
what games come out. Maybe
got
I
a
won't do
year.
a game. I don't know. Who knows? All I know is, and this seems like a sorry excuse, right? This isn't video game related whatsoever. But obviously, Doctor Who, a new episode of Doctor Who came out last week. And then, spoiler alert, David Tennant's back as the Doctor for next year for a couple of specials. And he has a new outfit. And I really love his jacket that he has. So that's like... If nothing comes to mind, I will probably be his new outfit because one, the episodes won't be out yet because that's how long away it is. But two, so it'll still be relevant. But two, I really love his new jacket and I kind of want it. So, but that's not a video game. So maybe we'll have to come up with something else. But it's a nice jacket.
I don't know. I don't think that we necessarily have to. You were a Doctor Who character technically the
That's
first
Matt Smith.
time.
Yeah, I was the 11th Doctor the first
Yeah.
time. That was just because I had an 11th Doctor costume running around because that's the kind of person I am. Emergency
And I
Halloween
was
outfit.
just a regular, or I was a non-specific Plague Doctor that time, also not a video game character.
Hey, maybe that's where we return to. But this week, obviously, it's a Halloween episode, but we do have video games to cover. I know, right? Cringe, but bear with us. We're going to talk about Bayonetta 3. Bayonetta 3 came out this week, so we're going to talk all about it. Hunter and Kyle have been playing it. Hunter is well on his way to nearly beating it. Kyle's round halfway through, so we'll talk about all of that. Following that, we always do a spooky topic. First year, we did like best monsters in gaming. Last year, what did we do last year? Was it like best
It was,
horror moments in non-horror
Yeah,
games?
it was
Spooky
best
things or
horror
non-spooky
things and
games.
non-horror games.
And now, basically, for the third year, Hunter is going to give us a list of horror games that babies should play. So if you're new to the horror genre, like me, kind of like Kyle, because Kyle hasn't played many horror games, if you're a baby, then these are the games for you. We're going to talk all about those. And then we're going to wrap it up. Kyle's played Resident Evil 3. Hunter played Dead Space. We're going to talk about some of those. I've done fuck all. I've just been... What can I say, guys? A look like this, it takes time. I've done nothing else this week. So
Time and a whole lot of hope that it shows up on.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Trust me, UPS was literally the devil for me this week. I was fighting that UPS this week.
Oh, the
But-
DMs this week were a lot of fun.
It was it was really something. So bear with us as we go through everything, and I'll just sit here. Like I said, I'm just the eye candy. These two have brought the content this week, so you just got to deal with it. And if you're on podcasts, thank yourself. Consider yourself fucking lucky. Good job. You don't have to look at this. You don't have to look at Kyle, who's I'm really jealous of Kyle's jacket to be honest. And you can look at Hunter, who literally now is taking his hat off, so he just looks like Hunter. Like this
Legit.
is,
I mean, listen, man, I can't wear the mask without
Leave the
ruining
silly
audio
hat on.
quality.
leave the silly hat on. Put that
It doesn't
silly hat
fit
on.
very well.
I
I
don't
don't
care.
Look
Put
at
on
this
the hat.
wig. I'm wearing a wig, Hunter. Put the damn hat on.
All right, fine.
And
God.
smile while you're at it. Service with a smile.
You see,
HGO
that
podcast.
would be the real horror show. There is when I start like smiling.
Yeah. But no. Anyway, let's start. Do not put that back on. Fuck, that'll really ruin the audio. But anyway, let's get started. So Bayonetta 3. It's out. It's finally here after 6 million years of waiting. After Jeff Keighley teasing it to us, like what, 5
You know what's
years
funny
ago?
about this is these last 2 weeks feel longer than the wait before it got in between the first trailer and the second one at this point.
Yeah.
God,
Because let's
these
be
last
real.
2 weeks have been an adventure.
It has, and we'll have to talk about them, obviously, because you kind of can't before we get into it, really. But it is weird how it's like when games get announced 5 to 7 years in advance, and like they just show up one day. Bayonetta is not the kind of game you expect to be that, like a 10-hour hack and slash. You don't expect that to be announced
Yeah.
5 years in advance.
No,
You think
not
of
at
Kingdom
all.
Hearts, you think of Persona 5, you think of like Duke Nukem and like games that went through
Metroid
dev
Prime
hell.
4.
Elder
Metroid
Scrolls
Prime 4.
6.
Elder Scrolls 6, yeah, Starfield. You think of those kinds of games. You don't think of Bayonetta. Bayonetta feels like a game that you announce the year it's coming out, and look what happened. It's very
Yeah.
weird for it to finally be here, to be honest. It kind of feels surreal. To me, the way it's made me feel is, I feel like, I don't know why, but with this game coming out, I'm looking at my Switch and going, your time is up. Like, your time is ending. Like, your song is done soon. Like, I'm just sitting there going, couple more games, better be a new one. But, you know, don't mind Hunter. Hunter is dying. We were all
Like he lost his hat.
Hunter lost his hat and got ligma. I've recovered from the
Oh,
ligma.
no.
Dude, I coughed so hard I got like a cramp in my side.
Oh, that's not good.
That's the worst.
Yeah, I
Ugh.
hate when that happens. That's
That happened to
awful.
me the other day while I was driving. I was like, I am in pain and I can't do anything about it. It's the worst.
Ugh.
Man.
But now, anyway, so these last 2 weeks have been kind of crazy. So for those of you who are not aware, this game got cancelled, uncancelled, and a shit ton of money got raised for charity, but not the charity you're thinking of, because the original charities weren't that great. It's such a fucking it's such a trash fire. This whole Helena Taylor situation, because
It was
it's taken
bizarre.
it's taken something that's a serious topic, which is like video game voice acting and not being compensated enough, and turned it into a fucking like a story of lies, deceit, and like paying. I don't know what happened, but you know, here we are.
Yeah, it's silly, man. Like
Mm.
the whole lying about what you were being paid fiasco is, oh my god.
Are you good?
Yeah. Yeah, the whole lying about what you were being paid fiasco is really annoying because like I'm pretty sure if she had been honest about what she was being paid, people would still have been like, that's probably still not enough, you know? Like, but
Yeah.
the fact that she lied is a wrinkle that a lot of people are not cool with. And also the charities that she is suggesting people donate to definitely makes me feel less bad for her.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's multiple things, because it's like you know, her charities were very much heavily like kind of religious organizations that, from the like some research, looked like they were anti-trans, anti-abortion, which is like, you know, very, I don't know, like, your beliefs are your beliefs, but I feel like for the most people, especially people who are fans of Bayonetta and all of that kind of jazz, I feel like that is the opposite of what they stand for.
There's a certain level
and
of
it's
irony
like,
there.
yeah. And I know it's like what we stand for, and I mean, you're talking like, look, feel like I'm just like, ha. Anyway, I'm not trans, but you know, it's like everyone here on this
He's
podcast.
an ally.
I'm an ally, yeah. Like everyone here is an ally. So it's like when we were like a couple of weeks ago, we were like, oh yeah, donate to charities, whatever. This is terrible. And now it's like come out that not only was she lying about it, but also the charities that she did eventually talk about weren't great. So I was like, oh, great. So we fully do that U-turn, fully commit that U-turn. And it's just like I say, kind of shitty situation, because 15,000, yeah, it's not great, but I feel like lying about it in the whole first place, and also what she was asking was also ridiculous, like six figures and like residuals on top of that. I feel like that's going the opposite way and almost taking the piss in that regard.
Yeah.
That's a little. I like how she told on herself about the six figures thing later too, because she gave like a specific number when she was denying it, and the report she like specifically said like 250,000 or something.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Was what it was claimed that she was asking for, when no one ever claimed anything about a specific six figures. It was just six figures, you know. So classic gotcha there.
Classic gotcha, bro. It was just it's like I say, the whole situation is just kind of shitty, and I guess the only benefit from this is one of the voice actors who are playing the new character. I don't know what her name is. Is it what's the new
It's
character's name?
Viola's
Viola.
voice actor.
Viola's, yeah,
Has
voice
raised
actor.
quite a nice chunk of money for some trans charities, which is awesome, which is very cool.
Yeah.
Is it bad that I'm
love to see
already
it.
is it bad I'm already getting too hot for this wig? Is it bad? It's been 15 minutes, guys. Can I take it off yet? Is it?
You've lasted longer than last
Okay,
year.
cool. Thank you. Hang on, you ready for this? Oh, there we go. Hey.
Oh my God.
Oh. And now I'm Noah when he chooses Mio's class. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. That's the bit.
Then just quickly color in the tattoo.
Yeah. No, I need to quickly move it to the fucking arm. It's like, here's what I can on his. Is it? It's on his wrist, I think. It's like here, isn't it? No,
It's on his knuckle, isn't it?
it's like there, I think. It's like
Hand?
there. It's on his palm of his hand, like the opposite.
We
back
played
of
this
his
game for like 100 hours. You'd
I know,
think we would
right?
have remembered this.
I'm just looking at my hair because now my hair's all fucking whack because
Nah,
there we
you're
go.
fine.
fighting to live. Anyway, we're all good.
Living to fight.
That's the state of our world, Ionios. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Ionios or Xenoblade 3.
Charlie Ouroboros.
We're not here to
Trash,
talk about
really.
Charlie Ouroboros. We're here to talk about Bayonetta 3. So, where do you want to start? Like you say, you've played probably nearly most of it, Hunter, at this stage.
I'm on chapter. I just finished chapter 10 before I started getting ready for the podcast, so that's most of the game at this point. Kyle, how far along did you say you were?
I think I just finished chapter 6. I either just finished it or I stopped there. One or the other.
Cool.
So
So,
you're
yeah,
playing,
like
you played
halfway.
plenty.
Yeah.
I don't know how long this game is, to be honest. I've seen bits and pieces.
According to the internet, there's 14 chapters, and, like, with numbers on them there. There were, like, 2 prologue things right before that.
Mhm.
But I know with stuff like Bayonetta, it's never.
Yeah, Bayo 1 and 2 were both 16 chapters.
But if I remember correctly, it's never like they're not balanced chapters. These aren't like,
Not all
Yeah,
the time, no.
not like
No.
Uncharted chapters, where Uncharted chapters I always feel like they are the kind of, if there's 14 chapters, a chapter in Uncharted is like a 14th of the game. It kind of feels like that. Whereas like Bayonetta, it's like you can have a chapter 4 that takes fucking forever, and then chapter 5 is a single fight, if that makes sense. Where it's like, they're very
Devil May
inconsistent.
Cry's done that too. DMC5 had a mission that was literally like, there are a few missions that are literally just boss fights, but there was one really early on that it was very short and also just that. I'm like, oh, that was quick. Cool.
Mm.
Yeah,
So
but
I guess there's a couple of questions. Obviously, it's been, like I say, long wait, 5-year wait. Even longer if you
Just a
count the
couple
gap
weeks for
between-
me.
Yeah, but even longer if you count the gap between Bayonetta 2's original release and now, right? Because that was 2013,
oh yeah, solid 2014,
2014.
2014,
solid
yeah.
8 years.
How does it feel? How's it feel to be back in the world of Bayonetta after so long, Hunter?
It feels pretty good, to be honest. It still plays really well. It's funny. The more I played it today, the more I was thinking, it feels more different from the other two than the other two feel from each other. Where 2 just felt like 1, but more refined and better. There are certainly things about this one that weren't present in 2 and 1, and there are things about the first 2 games that aren't in this one, such as like, how you could you could take the weapons off of the enemies and use them for a limited amount of time. That's not present in this game, and I didn't really
Interesting.
notice that until a little bit ago. But I think some of what they added works. I think it works pretty solidly, and then some of what they added, the stuff that doesn't work as much, I feel like isn't super invasive. It's just kind of there, and you're not dealing with it for too long, so it's not really too much harm coming from it. Yeah.
One thing I've noticed is that the game is a lot simpler to play than 1 and 2 were, where your combo routes are just like very basic, and also with weapons you can't mix and match like you could in the first 2 games.
Oh
Like
yeah,
you could have
that
a
was-
weapon on your arms and your legs, and this it's just like one set.
Interesting.
That was
no-
actually messing with me for a little bit at the beginning because after the first mission or whatever, you get your second weapon, and I was sitting there trying to like set the arms and legs, and I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's just gone.
Yeah, I was like, well, that's all right.
That's
Because
interesting.
really, doing that, I feel like taking that out, there's not a whole lot that's lost except for, I don't know, getting to see more of the weapons at once.
Yeah.
But
still-
like as far as functionality, you can still do everything you could before with them.
Right. But it's just like that little player expression would have been nice,
Yeah.
but it's not too big.
No, interesting. Is there any like? Obviously, from the trailers, we've seen that there are a couple of differences in the combat this time around. Obviously, you have these giant kind of, I don't know what to call them, like Titan fights where you can
It's
The
funny
giant
because
kaiju
there's
fights,
like
yeah.
there's different degrees of that too, because in regular battles you can summon in like demons that are
Mhm.
big that'll help you out, and like that's the whole you hold like L2, and you can control them while Bayonetta stands off in the corner, hopefully, so that she doesn't get hit, and you can have a smack around with those things. I didn't really, so using it like that, I didn't really like that much, and I'm glad that they do something else with it later, where basically it kind of borrows from what they had going on in Astral Chain a little bit, where
Oh,
you summon the creature in to like do your combo finisher, and it's and which was kind of what I was doing anyway beforehand, because I didn't really like controlling the demons on their own. So I would just kind of smack them around and then summon it and hit them once or twice for a like little wombo punch there, and then start again. Then I'm glad it just got integrated into the actual mechanics of the game, because it makes it a little smoother. Now it's like, what if Astral Chain had more than a one combo moveset? Very nice, as I thought it might be. On the upper end with like the massive kaiju battles, those are slow and goofy,
control
but
like dog shit.
yeah, but they're also over like relatively quick, so they're not great. It's more about the spectacle than it is the functionality.
They certainly exist.
What about the new
Uh,
character?
oh, Viola, she's fun to play as. I enjoy it.
I have not gotten that far.
Really? She's
Oh.
not early on then? I'm surprised by that.
Either that or I just didn't find it, one or the other.
Kyle would have chapter 6. He either would have started. I guess you finished chapter 5.
I
and
guess.
didn't start 6, because I'm pretty sure 6 is where you first play as her.
God damn it, Kyle. If only you play for like 10 more minutes.
Dude, I can't. Hunter and I were talking about this. I can't play Bayonetta in long bursts.
Neither could I.
I just get so tired.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as Viola is concerned, she's pretty cool. She's more simplified than Bayonetta, I would say. But her main thing is like you parry to activate witch time instead of dodging. Same kind of functionality there, where it's still wait till the last second and block and then witch time and all that. She's limited to one demon that's in her sword, which is fine. She's got like the quick attacks. You can hold it in for like a charge attack, so that's cool. But yeah, she's pretty entertaining as far as how she plays. It's a nice little change of pace from Bayonetta.
Because see, what's so interesting to me about this game is I'm just looking on OpenCritic right now, and it has an 88 currently, which is very high. Same as the likes of Horizon Forbidden West, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Game of the Year, by the way. And
it's about what DMC5 got when it came out.
It's pretty
a
high.
few years ago.
And Bayonetta always scores pretty high. And it's like,
yeah,
I know that it's like, I know we ask like the stupid is it overrated question every fucking time a game comes out. And it's like most of the time it's kind of tongue in cheek. It's very obviously, hi guys, we're a small channel and we want clicks. Do you want to fucking come in here where we'll probably like the game? But it's like, for Bayonetta 3, this is like a genuine question to me, because it's like, I like Bayonetta. I liked Bayonetta 2. I think they're solid video games. But when it's like, when I compare it to, say, something like Horizon Forbidden West or Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I've never really found that kind of enjoyment in that way, if that makes sense. Like, I never really put them on that comparison, because yeah, there's these kind of really goofy and stunning kind of set pieces. There are these really dumb kind of moments. But it's like, to me, there's never been anything that's clicked with me for Bayonetta in the same way that most of these kind of games that get these kind of scores do. So it's always like interested me. What are your thoughts on the whole, where it's landed in terms of that score?
I'm kind of in the same
That's
boat
about
as you.
where I was expecting it to.
Yes, but do you think that's my
'cause,
question? I put it on my fantasy draft. I expected it to get a high 80. Like that's what I was expecting. But it's always in my mind is, does it like, is this a big enough? Is there an 8-year gap? Step in the right direction for Bayonetta? Does this feel like the next evolution, if that makes sense? Or is it just more Bayonetta and Bayonetta just gets an 88 because the people that like Bayonetta really like Bayonetta?
This
that makes
game
sense.
just feels like more Bayonetta, truthfully. So I played, for people, if you just found this episode like through YouTube recommendations, first of all, welcome. Second, I played Bayonetta 1 and 2 for the first time this month, and honestly, I thought the games were just okay. They were fine, hacky slashies, but I feel like by the end of each of them, I was kind of getting really worn out, and I'm like, okay, this like it's all right as a game, but it's kind of just like super floaty, and I'm not too big on the combat either. And really, to me, Bayonetta 3 just feels like more of that, where it doesn't feel like it's iterating on the good parts of 1 and 2, but instead just feels like it's just more of it.
You
If
see,
that
it does, and it's like Bayonetta 3 to me is such an interesting game because I feel like, and I don't know if this is fair to say, to be honest, I feel like if this game came out in the first 2 years of the Switch being a thing, or even the first 3 years, I genuinely feel I would have picked this game up because the gimmick of the Switch and the idea of having a game like this would have been still so appealing that I would have picked it up. Whereas now, because it's 2022, we've had so many great titles and so many good looking games on Nintendo Switch. I look at Bayonetta 3 and it's like, even little bits and pieces, like, it's the least optimized Bayonetta game. I've noticed that instantly. I've seen that the frame rate isn't fucking perfect, and I've also noticed.
Dude, I had some wacky nonsense happen with one of the summons.
And you know it's bad
earlier
if Hunter's
today.
noticing, because Hunter's literally
Well,
frame rate
no.
down.
It wasn't a frame rate thing. It was like a weird kind of glitch thing where I got like trapped inside of the body of the monster, and the camera was like stuck.
No, because it's like, you know, I don't like to base it on that shit, right? I don't like being a fucking frame rate Andy or a fucking resolution Andy, but it's like it's not this does not feel, you know how we were speaking about Xenoblade earlier in the year, and it felt like this game had been done forever and it felt so polished. It was like, I think what I remember saying was, I feel like this is the most polished Switch game I've ever played, where it genuinely, I didn't see a single bug, I barely saw anything wrong with it, everything just worked. Bayonetta 3 doesn't feel like it's been in development since 2017. It genuinely, like, it just kind of, it looks like it's getting by, and that's fine, but it's also like, when I see it in line with Forbidden West,
beginning of the game where she's got like blood dripping from her mouth. I'm like, oh, that made me giggle because of just the way that it looked. It looked like someone splashed her with fake blood, like on a stage production. I was like, oh, well, okay. But yeah, I think the way that Bayonetta's always, because like none of Platinum's games have ever been super pretty to begin with. I think what Bayonetta's always gotten by with is, you know, the sheer craziness of what they're doing.
It's the style. It's the style.
Sure, if you were to just take a random shot of it like out of context and it wasn't in the middle of something crazy happening, it looked, I don't know, fairly generic, but you know, but it's what you have happening, you know, in the moment is what makes it so crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like it's an interesting one, right? Because it's like, I think that it's going to be a great game. Like, it is a good game.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's a good game. It's
a really
Bayonetta.
Good game.
It's a really good game. It's just, it's always very interesting to me, and it's like, you know, Bayonetta 3 is such a fucking interesting game, because I feel like I would have been asking these questions, had this conversation with you regardless of the controversy that's been happening around it.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, you have this whole whirlpool of negativity, then it gets really great review scores, and then obviously not having played it because I'm not really into it, but watching it and then going, oh, why does the port of Bayonetta 2 on Switch look better than the first level of Bayonetta 3? This level looks a bit shit in terms of visuals, like, you know, the ruins, like the ruined city and stuff like that. They chose some ugly first levels. That's what I will say.
Yeah.
The first level of Bayo 2 is you fly through fucking New York on a jet, and on a fucking jet plane. That shit's sick. And then I've seen some of the later levels, and they're gorgeous. And I'm like, should have started with the gorgeous shit. There's some really good looking stuff at the end of Bayonetta 3. It looks great. Why don't you start with that? Why did you start with the ugly brown gross shit that all looks the same? It's very bizarre.
So I guess this is something that before you arrived into the call, I was chatting with Kyle a little bit, and one of the things that I said or I made passing mention of was like, oh, if I wasn't sick, I probably could have beat this, yesterday. And I made mention to like how when Devil May Cry 5 came out, I beat that in a single sitting and whatnot. I'm like, to be fair to like the gap between, I don't feel the same way playing this as I do about that. If you feel me there, like it's not.
Yeah.
And I know that's obviously because Devil May Cry is like my favorite series, but it's not. It's not even really approaching the same orbit. But I still really like the game. I think that the little iterations they've done to how it feels are good enough to make it interesting. So it's not quite the same, even if it is a very similar feeling thing.
Yeah, no, and I'm sure. I'm like I say, I don't want to drag the mood down because obviously it's a great game. It's just like my whole like kind of atmosphere is okay. It's like when it's like when we look at Elden Ring and we go, okay, what did Elden Ring do to make people fall in love with that? What did it do differently from Dark Souls? And we had a bit of a mixed reaction to Elden Ring. I still don't think it's the best game that came out this year, but I still think that it deserves merit for what it did and the changes that it made to its gameplay loop and all that stuff. It's really interesting. You look at Forbidden West, and I look at the miles, leaps and bounds that they went in terms of storytelling and world building for that video game. I'm like, okay, understand that. Xenoblade 3, compared to the dog shit menus and some of their game design of Xeno 2, as much as I love Xeno 2, the side quests are goddamn dog shit. They're awful. And it's like, to see how they improved that from 1 and 2, you're like, okay, I get it. And then when I see Bayonetta 3, and it's just more Bayo, and that's always a good thing. Well, more Bayo is always a good thing, right? But it's like, I don't know if we've just been spoilt this year in terms of the true tentpole games that have come out this year have been so goddamn good. There've not been many,
dude,
but the ones that have been so goddamn good.
Even if you want to boil it down to like just wall it off into action games in its own like subgenre, there's been a lot of really good action games this year. As far as like Sifu was really good. Neon White, not action in the same way, but action oriented, really good. Rollerdrome, really good. The list keeps going. And those were all like good in a new and different kind of way, whereas Bayonetta is a more kind of, it's very familiar in how it is good, I guess.
It's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be interesting to see how this game does, because obviously it's going to be the best-selling Bayonetta game, because of course it is. The other two, the first one was known for not selling well, and the second one was on the Wii U, so this is not going to be much of a fucking contest, is it? It's going to be a bloodbath.
No, and the past 2 weeks have probably drummed up, and like despite whatever, side of the argument you've landed on, you're probably buying the game anyway.
Oh, 100%.
So
it's going to be interesting.
That's drummed up interest for it.
It's going to be interesting to see how this game kind of does in award season. That's my thing. Is it going to get a lot of noms? Is it gonna is it gonna
I could
do
see
well?
it winning best action.
Probably. It'll definitely get noms for stuff like that. It's like, will this get noms for Game of the Year? That's my thing.
No,
probably not.
I'd have to look at what came out this year, but I would say probably not.
Like, just thinking off of the things that like, because 2019 was, I think, less of a obvious, like that was the least obvious winner of a Game of the Year, or least obvious nomination pool of a Game of the Year
ever.
And Devil May Cry still didn't get nominated for Game of the Year then. And
that game reviewed so well.
It did, and it certainly should have gotten the nomination over
that, especially for 2019. Yeah, it definitely should have. Right? What were the noms for 2019?
I don't remember anymore. I know Sekiro won.
I've got the list open. It was Sekiro won, and it was also Control, Death Stranding, The Outer Worlds, Resi 2 Remake, and Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Okay, I'm
God.
sorry. What the fuck? Right. Like, right. What the fuck was that? Like,
What even was
Yeah.
genuinely.
Control?
Control was good.
Control was good.
But
No, that's just the one on the list I don't remember.
Even Smash. I feel like Control and Smash and, you know, I feel like Control and Smash, either of them could very much have easily been replaced with Devil May Cry 5.
Oh,
Yeah.
easily.
yeah.
Because Smash is more Smash. Again, always a good thing. But Smash was more Smash. And Control was fine. It was like a strong 80 game. Like it was alright, but it wasn't like.
Yeah.
But in terms of this shit, there's like it's like I say,
And
the problem is
Bayonetta
the
has
problem. Yeah.
stiffer competition this year. Like God of War isn't out yet, but it's gonna be out in time to get nominated.
And and reviews are out this week for God of War.
Yeah.
That's how
Mhm.
confident they are about that
Yeah.
game. It's gonna do well. God of
Not
so
to
it's gonna
mention
be
Elden Ring.
God of
Horizon
War,
probably gets
Horizon Forbidden
nominated
West.
anyway.
Fingers crossed Xenoblade gets a nom.
I feel like it should because of the.
It should,
I know
but I
it
wouldn't be
should.
shocked if it didn't.
I don't know what it would. I don't know what would replace it. That's my thing. Is because there's nothing
Yeah.
in. I feel like if any game's gonna get the Nintendo nom this year, it's gonna be Xenoblade. That's my gut
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah.
Is because critics actually liked that one,
Yeah.
and I keep seeing shit on Twitter where it's like, hey, why don't people talk about Xenoblade 3 more? I think Xenoblade 3 will get a pity nom. It won't win fucking anything. Maybe RPG,
No.
but not like anything else. It sits in such a weird place, and I'm like. It's like I say, it's a weird game because it's good and it's solid, but it is just more Bayonetta. It's not done
Yeah.
anything out of its comfort zone, really, which is fine.
It's also one of those things where action hack and slash games are really helped a lot of times. I feel like by the space between the entries in a lot of ways, because like it's been 8 years since Bayonetta 2. It's been 5 years since Bayonetta 3 was announced. You know, like I feel like if Bayonetta 3 came out, you know, in 2018 or something, it wouldn't feel as much of a big deal as it did now, I guess. And I feel like a similar situation, like hypothetically, if DMC5 had come out like when Ninja Theory's game did, I don't think the interest would have drummed up in the same way. Like the gap between these things gives the, you know, fan base time to, you know, be crazy about it and get other people interested in it. Like that happened with DMC5 for sure. Like even if it wasn't necessarily where people jumped in at because it was coming out or had just come out, people went and played the other games.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there's a similar situation here. Kyle's a perfect example here. He just played Bayonetta 1 and 2. Yeah, and I'm sure that happened. I'm sure plenty of people were like that in the run up to this game.
That's that. There's also the classic. It's a Nintendo game.
Yeah, that too.
It's going to sell. It's going to sell. Okay, was not expecting that. Interesting. I thought I'd check the eShop because, you know, I always like to do stuff like this. It's already to number 4.
Already to number 4?
Which is interesting because Mario and Rabbids sat there for fucking like a week. And it's like, that's an interesting... This is the UK. Persona 5 Royal is in number 6. You go Persona 5 Royal. You keep selling this copy. But
yeah, you do.
So number 4, let me go on to America because America's more of a Bayonetta territory, I feel. I feel like Europe's a bunch of pussies. We don't like hack and slashes over here. We like Mario Rabbids. We don't like fucking whatever the hell Bayonetta is. Bestsellers, all games. I shit you fucking not. Mario Rabbids is back in number 1, bro. What the fuck? People really like.
Why aren't we talking about that game?
Dude, I will 100% buy Mario plus Rabbids when it's $20 in like 6 months' time, and I'll have a great time when I play half the game and put it down like I did with the original. But, you know, I'm not... Fool me once, I'm not buying that game for $60 again. And Persona... Literally, that's a great... I will say, though, Switch is having a great month. Literally, number 1, 2, and 3 is Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, Bayonetta 3, and Persona 5 Royal. What a fucking month for Switch. They're living life.
Good
right
lineup.
here.
Out of curiosity, where's Nier at? Because that came out this month for Switch.
Oh,
too.
that's probably gone well down the list now. That came out at the start. Yeah, it's not
Probably.
even in the top 30 anymore. Yeah.
Bummer. Oh well.
I'm sure it did great though when it did come out. The fact that Persona is
That
still
the
in the
people
fucking
who
top
wanted it
3
wanted
in
it.
like a week and a half, that like fucking Atlas is like, holy shit, what the fuck, it's making money. Who would have guessed if we released that popular game on Switch? It would
Can't
make money.
believe it.
But no, so it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what it does. I feel like, although I think Metroid Dread's probably a better game because I really love Metroid Dread. I feel like this is the Nintendo's Metroid Dread of the year,
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
where it's going to hit that core audience. It's going to be really liked by our audience, but then as soon as like it's going to be forgotten instantly. Where it's like Metroid Dread was loved. Everybody fucking loved Metroid Dread. New people like me even bought Metroid Dread, and I had a great time. But it still only sold like 3 million copies because it's Metroid, and you just feel like oh, poor Metroid can't catch a break. And I feel like Bayonetta 3 is going to be the same way.
Yeah.
But it's still great. Would you recommend it regardless? Would you recommend Bayonetta 3 regardless?
Yeah, I would recommend it.
Yeah.
If you like hack and slash games at all, play this game because Bayonetta is still the best hack and slash thing you can get outside of the DMC series. So, yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And like I say, it's great. I don't know why. Like I say, I just like fueling the fire. I'm just like, yo, guys, what if it's
Stoking
mid
the
though,
flames.
bro? What if it's
What
mid?
if
Look,
it's mid?
look at me. I look like someone who likes to spark flames. Look at me. Look at my fire-resistant fucking top, bro. I start the flames and I chuck my shirt over it like I'm a fucking put it out.
That does look like something you could toss
It
over
does.
a
It looks
fire
like
to
those.
smother
It looks like I just did that thing and then it's like, oh, hello. Like, oh my god, I hate this fucking costume so much. No, I don't. It's great. It's great. I just wish the tattoo that's now going to be permanently on my fucking head for like forever was a bit more viewable. But well. Anyway, Hunter.
Could have put it on your chin.
All right.
No, that was terrible. I realized I don't have any alcohol, so it's like the best case scenario is I have to run into work and like see if there's any fucking alcohol I can just rub on my face really quick. But I'm like, there's not going to be there any, so there's not going to be any there. I'm just going to have to wait for fucking Amazon to give me some. Oh well. I digress. Hunter, enough about Bayonetta 3. Fuck that. Not scary enough.
Not scary enough. It is about witches, though, so very thematic.
Yeah, but not scary enough. As many of the audience know, I am what they would like to call in the industry a baby bitch, right? I don't like the spooks. I don't like the scares. Get out of my
you
face.
barely
I
even
don't wanna
tolerate
be
the skeletons.
Yeah. And I mean, I've said it before on the podcast. I don't mind gore. I don't mind any of that shit. I just don't like jump scares. I don't like people jumping out at me and going, got you, bitch. Because I'm like, what does that do for me? Nothing. Piss off. Goodbye. Turn off the game. Turn off my life. I've had enough. So, I gave you a bit of homework this week, like I do every week. Because you basically run the show. I'm just the fucking fake person that pretends they do.
Ethan's the royal family.
I am.
I'm whatever actually makes your country pretend to
The Prime
work.
Minister? Trust me, you're not the Prime Minister because our Prime Ministers have been pretty tragic recently. Anyway, I digress.
Okay, I'm longer tenured than the last one.
What, than Liz Truss? Yeah, well, the podcast is longer than 40 days old, so yes, you well done. You're better than them. You're going to beat Boris anytime soon. Anyway.
That's not something to woo about, Hunter.
I mean, I'm better than him, so
It's true.
that's something
It's
to
true.
woo.
So, anyway, I gave you a bit of homework, which was I want you to give me and partially Kyle, because he doesn't play many horror games, a list of horror games that even baby bitches like myself in my fire retardant shirt can play. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna play?
All right. So at first I was thinking. So this is mostly just in the general idea of people who scare easy. I'm not exactly gonna try and sell these to you two specifically.
Boo!
because-
No, try harder. Scare
Whatever. Because anyway, the first one here is I'm gonna start with is Lone Survivor because I really like that game. It's fantastic, and I feel like the girl I dated in high school was able to get through this game, and she also didn't like scary things at all. So If she
Okay,
can
that's
do
the
it, then you
comparison
can.
now. Yeah, that's the comparison. Ethan, I think you're on the
uh,
same level as the girl I dated in high school like 8 years ago. You know, you could do it. I believe.
But anyway, so yeah, Lone Survivor is really solid as far as its sound design, and it's a 2D pixel horror game. So like all of the things that are scary about it are left to the imagination. Like you're not gonna see anything that I think you'll take to bed with you when you're done playing it. Like and sometimes, actually honestly, sometimes the imagination effect is more to its benefit. I specifically remember earlier this year when I played the medium, there was this part where in the spirit world or whatever, you encounter this like flesh wall and you have to like cut it open. And I'm like, well, that looks kind of dumb because of just the rubbery way that the skin was falling apart. Lone Survivor has a part like that where, because it's, all pixely and stuff, it's just implied, and then, a little cut and the wall opens up, and more to your imagination, so you're less pointing at it and going, oh, that looks silly. And the soundtrack and music is really solid as far as that goes. The themes that are present in the game are really good, and the survival mechanics are pretty well done as far as like if you're looking for that kind of thing, like the Resident Evil inventory management kind of gameplay loop. You can get this you could, if you wanted to, go full ham, guns blazing, shoot all of the little skin creatures you find if you really wanted to. But if you wanted to go a more conservative route, you could like get this little trade circle of things where you find stuff, bring it to one guy, and he'll give you bullets that you can trade to this other guy for flares that just blind the monsters. So you get a bunch of options with this game too, as far as how you want to tackle it and which ending you want to go for and all that kind of nonsense. And the coolest thing about this, there is a new version of the game, like a kind of ground up remake that will be out by the time the podcast is up, or the same day.
Really?
Super Lone Survivor coming to Steam on Halloween.
That's cool.
It comes to Switch sometime in November. That'll probably be when I play it, if I can make the time, because there's like hours more content according to Mr. Jasper Byron Byrne. I don't know how to say his last name. I'm sorry.
War is coming.
But yeah, there's like
War is
hours
coming,
more
guys.
content to that, and I'll be super jazzed to play it when I have the chance, because even as far as like I played at horror games when I was younger. Like we had the Resident Evil games, and we had Silent Hill 2. I definitely played those. When I started, getting older, I feel like this is what kind of got my attention more back into the genre as far as that was concerned. So I feel like in general, it's just a good stepping off point if you're interested in horror games. And a really good place to start if you scare easily, because I feel like it won't really do that to you.
No, fair enough, because like I say, I've seen you play this game before, and you've talked about it on the podcast before. And it's got a very interesting art style to it, so definitely check it out if you like the look of it. Obviously, in Halloween, perfect time to play it for a day,
sure.
and then it's dead. So don't play it on November 1st, you fuckers. You play it now or never, right? Download it.
The
right
current
now.
version definitely only takes about a night to play, so it's perfect for that. Like it was like a yearly tradition for a couple of years in a row for me. I don't know how long this Super Lone Survivor is going to be, but who knows?
No,
all
fair
right.
enough.
So next up on the list, I've got Resident Evil 8 and/or the Resident Evil 2 remake. I feel like they both function similarly in this kind of way. Resident Evil 8 is one of the least intimidating horror games I've played in a while.
But the Doll's House, Hunter. But
yeah, that is a really well done execution of tension and such. And it definitely has the one part of the game that I'm sure made all of the Twitch streamers scream. But the rest of it, is just kind of creepy things like, vampire lady and her castle.
There's nothing scary about that. They were far. I don't know if scary was the emotion that they were feeling, Hunter. I don't know if that was what everyone was feeling. I saw Twitter. It was not. It was not fear.
Twitter.
Yeah, I know, but the intended emotion. But
No, I know they know what the intended emotion was too. They hit their target audience,
I
Hunter.
don't know if Capcom was going for it originally, but they
Oh,
definitely
they
leaned
were.
into it.
Oh, they were. They were like seven. They were like 7, like 8 foot tall. Yeah, tick, bro. Like, yeah, dress, tick, bro. Like, yeah, everything about that design. They knew what they were doing.
But anyway, so it's a relatively easy game as far as like, it's still got all of the survival horror mechanics and the inventory management and all of that, but also nothing that happens is too horrifying. Like the one time when he gets his hands cut off, it looks more goofy than anything else because he like puts them back on a second later. It's real silly. But uh yeah, and as far as that, like, it's very hard to feel overly tense about, because it's very generous with the resources in this one. Most enemies die if you just shoot them in the knee and then the head, about 3 shots maximum a lot of the time. So it's very hard to feel super tense about that. Like I've had this opinion pretty much since I beat the game last year that I feel like that'd be a decent place to start if, you got a friend who wants to get into horror games, but scares easily because it's only got the one part, and even then I feel like they could, you know, get by with one nightmare about it.
I also want to specify as well that as of this week, with the Rose DLC being added, you can now play the entire game in third person as well, which probably makes it less scary as well. So first person things, what's throwing you off Resident Evil 8. Now you too can still not look at Ethan's face by looking at his arsehole game. Hope you have fun.
Yeah. And then as far as 2 goes, I think 2, the remake of 2, is a scarier game, but a lot of it is much in the quiet moments of the game rather than, because all of the Resident Evil games kind of wind up to a more kind of bombastic finish. But in the more quiet moments of the game is when it kind of gets creepy. And I feel like if you just kind of Zerg rush it, you can overcome that. Like, I don't know if the game ever got you at all, Kyle, when you played it, but
Besides probably a few Mr. X moments and the first encounter with the liquors, I'd say probably not.
yeah.
Nah,
Yeah, like,
Resi 2 is really fun. Super good entry point to the series.
yeah,
And I think it does the whole survival horror resource management really well.
and because of the modern iteration of it here, a bunch of irritating things about the original version are gone. Like all of your items get marked on the map. If the rooms are cleared, it tells you on the map, all that nice stuff. And Mr. X as the pursuit enemy is really well done. I definitely paused a couple of times, not like physically, but I stopped moving my character a couple of times while I was perusing the hallways of the Raccoon City Police Department while I played because I thought he might be around.
The other nice thing about it is that it comes with some like beginner friendly features. Like if your health gets low, it'll gradually recover over time. And it also comes with an aim assist for people who aren't particularly good at shooters like me.
Oh, also with this game, this one specifically, you can absolutely goof the enemy's range. Like you can just duck and move and never have to shoot them. That's how I played most of the game. I had so many extra bullets when I got to the end of Resi 2 because I was never shooting anything except for the lickers.
The AI is real dumb in this game. And that makes it a lot less scary.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I saw Mr. X in that game, I shot his hat off and I got a trophy.
It makes him angry.
It does, but I also got a trophy for it, and I'm like, oh, well, that's neat.
Yeah.
I did that because I was panicking.
That's funny.
I think I shot him with like a flame grenade or something.
Oh, nice.
A reasonable response to Mr. X.
Yeah. Alrighty. Next on the list. Oh, this is a good one.
Oh
So this
boy.
game, I don't even know if it is technically a horror game, but it presents itself like one, so it makes the list. Deadly Premonition is the most goofy thing that I can recall in a long time. All right, so its control scheme is like the same as Resi 4 as far as like you stop when you're aiming, and it's got the little red dot that you're aiming around. None of the things that are presented as scary in the universe of this game are actually scary. What you'll more likely, it's like it's set up all spooky. Like I guess I should. It's this. I don't remember the specifics of a lot of this anymore because I played it a long time ago. But basically, Agent York is like an FBI investigator, and there was this grisly murder in this, you know, country town essentially. And no one knows who's responsible. All that you got is the killer was wearing a raincoat and he looks kind of sus, I guess. Like he shows up a couple of times and like, yeah, seeing a guy looking like that brandishing an axe at you, I would walk the other direction, but also it's not going to haunt me in my dreams. The other monsters, oh man, they were just kind of like these pale, kind of sunken flesh things and humanoid things, and they made goofy sounds and were not very scary. Um, what you'll remember most about this game is the weird dialogue in it. Like straight up, this game is very Twin Peaks like in the way that they deliver all of how everyone talks. Man, like look up anything about this game and you'll just hear it'll be something about the goofy deliveries of the lines and not about anything that was actually scary about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Uh no, I don't even it's funny because it's one of these games that I don't even know if I would I wouldn't even argue that it's very good, but it was definitely charming.
Oh, the best kind of games.
Yeah, it's one of those, man, like yeah. Uh all right. Next up, we'll go with I've got Little Nightmares on this list just because uh you know, I think it qualifies for what I'm going with here because it mechanically it takes place in like a 2D plane and you're or sometimes like the little 2.5D stuff and it's more like a puzzle game, but also it has the same kind of mechanics that a bunch of these first person horror games that came out after Amnesia have, where you're mostly seeing a spooky creature and running away from
Mm-hmm.
it. That is like most of what this game is while you're trying to solve these puzzles. And to be fair, some of the things that you end up doing in this game are genuinely kind of like, ugh, that was gross. Like your little character has to resort to eating rats a couple of times, and like, ugh, gross. And some of the creatures are off-putting, like just because they're like little there's like this one of the thing that chases you throughout chapter 2 is like this I don't remember what he did exactly, but was he was like this little gnome looking guy. Well, he's like a gnome except he was enlarged, but not like proportionally enlarged. Like he still had the proportions of a gnome but big, you know what I mean? And his arms were super long. That was his other gimmick. And he just chased you around for all of chapter 2. And like as you keep progressing through the game, there's a few other monsters like that until you get to the end. And I didn't think it was very scary, but I can see how people would see that thing and be like, "Oh no, I don't want him touching me ever." And it's functionally very similar to you know, indie horror games that have come out in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I watched Sam play that game earlier this year. It looked neat. I think that's a good way to describe it. It wasn't too long. I saw him beat the whole
No,
thing.
it's like a 3.5 hour, maybe four
Yeah,
hour game. It's
Mm-hmm.
a rather short one.
just a fun little adventure.
Yeah,
Quick in and out.
yeah.
I do remember the end of the game got really silly though. More silly than scary. but
Oh yeah, like the last 15 minutes or something is goofy. Uh, yeah. And then the last one I got on here, and I limited this to I limited myself to one old game because I feel like that's kind of cheating if I were to just say a bunch of old games. Like, oh, you could totally go play the old Resident Evil games now because they're all the things are blocky and stupid, you know? Like
because everything looks horrifying.
yeah.
Can I interest you in
Mm.
Ocarina of Time?
But Parasite Eve is the one I've got here, mostly because functionally, like the gameplay, it's very RPG esque. It's most of the horrifying things that happen are in the cutscenes and whatnot, where people burst into flames or melt into goo. And on the PS1, some people do have a specific fear of like the PS1 pre-rendered cutscenes, like Heihachi from Tekken staring into your soul does give people nightmares, but also it doesn't come off with, I believe, the intended effect today. And as far as like, there's technically resource management, but they're really generous with the resources, and like I said, it functions like an RPG where really you're moving around in like this sphere of movement kind of, or this little circle of movement kind of thing, and then you get to take a turn to shoot some stuff. All of the melting and body horror stuff, I do think, is really, their ideas are really cool, and the story is insane. I think it would really benefit from a remake. Like,
Yes, it would.
yeah, if it came out today and did all of this stuff, I don't really care how it plays. Like, it could keep the weird experimental RPG kind of thing it was doing if it wanted to. It could play more like a regular survival horror game if it wanted to. I don't really care. I want to see them bring all of the crazy stuff that they, did in the game as far as its presentation to life with modern technology, because that would probably give people nightmares, and that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, Parasite Eve's a game I've always wanted to try, but
You
I've
could
never had it available to try, and
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Yeah, you could absolutely get through that without much of a toll on your psyche.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, fair enough.
Yeah, and
Sorry,
that
Cal,
was
did you want to say
the
something?
last one I had on.
I was
here.
gonna say a remake of that game would involve Square Enix doing something right, though.
Actually,
We
they
can't count on them.
I read something last week, maybe sometime earlier this week, where they trademarked some kind of term that people were like, "Oh, maybe." So
Yeah,
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't have faith.
I don't remember what the term is, and also
I just don't
Parasite Eve.
believe in Square Enix anymore.
Parasite Eve it would be a weird cut for them to bring back.
But it'd be so worth it.
It would be. I think it would be great. And maybe they're going to, because they see that remaking horror games is the hotness right now.
It is, to be fair. It is.
Yeah.
It'd be like Square Enix to chase a trend.
It sure is. So maybe they'll do it. Hopefully, if they do, they give it the due amount of care it should get, and not just kind of like shove it out the door like some of their other, March projects.
Yo, hear me out. HD 2D.
It wasn't even a 2D game to begin with.
Yo,
Will
hear
be
me out.
now. Hooray. And so I just want to give some shout outs to a couple of games that I found scary, even if they weren't. First one, Returnal. Gotta love Returnal.
Yeah.
Its creepy vibe is always a good one. So if you're not into horror games and don't like jump scares, Returnal's a good one. There's only like 5 jump scares in that one. Have fun with that. Just stay away from the house.
They're all in the
stay away
house,
from the
so-
house and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But
Returnal's got really cool, creepy elements, a lot of like Eldritch Terror kind of stuff
it
sprinkled
does.
in there.
It does. That was my normie one. I've got some more obscure ones. My second one is Detroit Become Human, because Jesus Christ, that dialogue's scary, bro. How shit it is. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Awful video
Very
game.
true.
So yeah, and my third one is Scarlet Nexus. That game's terrifying because it never fucking ends. So there you go. If you want to be scared by being stuck in a video game forever, there you go.
Or maybe flower pots with legs are what horrifies you.
Yeah.
To be
maybe
fair, if
that.
they wanted to make the creatures from that horror creatures, they could have.
I mean, they were on their way.
Yeah. In a similar vein to what Ethan's saying, if you or a friend have played Bloodborne, that is a decent gateway horror thing, just because of all the wacky designs you see
There's
there.
like half a
Very,
dozen jump scares in that game. Yeah, there's quite a
yeah,
few.
there's it even the structure of the checkpoints and stuff. It tenses you up in that kind of way, and some of the monsters. I could see people screaming at some of that. The blood-starved
Definitely.
beast would probably give a child nightmares.
Yeah, definitely. So there you go. There's some picks of some horror games for you baby wusses out there. As for me, I'm a Chad and I'm just not going to play video games because fuck
Oh,
that, bro.
hell yeah. Video games are
Cringe.
for nerds, dude.
Exactly, dude. I've not played video games at all this week. Hell yeah. What a
That's the
Chad.
spirit.
That's it. Rise up. Rise up. Fuck gamers, bro. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
No games for me. I'm a Chad. Thank you very much. Anyway, and if you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments below. Or email us at hotgamersonly@gmail.com and we'll spread the good word. Why not?
At the end of spooky month.
Yeah, at the start of non-spooky month.
At the start of Christmas month.
Oh, hell yeah, it's November. Everybody get your Christmas trees out. Anyway, I digress. What are we supposed to be doing now?
It's going to be in the background of Kyle's set next week.
Maybe. We'll see.
Please
I
no,
think
please
next was
don't.
Kyle,
Please fucking no.
Resident Evil 3.
Resident Evil 3, Kyle, you played a spooky game. Good boy.
Resi
I sure
Sweep.
did.
You got a
Resi
sticker.
Sweep.
How was it?
I have first of all, the opening cutscene of that game was one of the most horrifyingly accurate cutscenes I've ever seen for when it was released. That was like April 2020, and it opened with a news broadcast of a global pandemic and riots in the street, and I'm like, this is hitting way too close to home right now.
Dude,
I'm uncomfortable.
go back to like episode 3 of the podcast, and I say something about overcoming a virus being cathartic for the situation the world is in.
Oh yeah,
That is funny.
that was.
I played it on release too. I was like, ha.
It is very funny that it's like, yeah, the first episode of the podcast went out the week that lockdown in the UK started. So it was like, that's it. Like, pandemic started, podcast started. So, yeah, it is episode 3 of the podcast. Good job, Hunter, for remembering what happens in these podcast episodes.
Yeah.
Someone has to.
But now, how did you find
Sure
it?
isn't Kyle.
Yeah, hey, I just look at thumbnails and go, wow, that's a thumbnail. I know the thumbnails. I look at the thumbnail, I'm like, yeah, that's the thumbnail. I can't tell you what the fuck we actually did in the episode, but that thumbnail. So how did you find it, Cal?
It was a lot of fun. It was a good video game. After we finished recording last week's episode on Friday, Hunter, Sam, and I were in call, and Hunter said the game was on sale, so I downloaded it, and that's what finally got me to play it. Downloaded it, let it run overnight, and then Saturday morning I started the game, and Saturday afternoon I was finished with the game.
It's a very short game.
Yeah, for short. People like me who really love short games, does not overstay its welcome at all.
Definitely not.
As for like the game itself, it's kind of, I don't know if I just knew how to play the game because of Resi 2 remake conditioning me to play a certain way, but I felt like the resources were a lot more plentiful in this game.
Oh, for sure. Like,
okay.
The resources were more plentiful, and the enemies were also more plentiful. Like, it was because the whole duck and dodge thing I said about Resi 2, I tried applying that to 3, and oftentimes it screwed me over because, well, there were too many things on the screen. Unless you were using her like actual dodge thing, that is helpful.
I was using that a little bit.
Yeah, it's a nice little thing.
You could get like a perfect dodge too.
Yeah,
and then unload bullets. I learned about that at the end of the game and said, "Man, wished I knew about this earlier."
You didn't manage to pull one
of
those
probably told me.
I can't remember if it does. I think it does. But I managed. If it didn't, I managed to do it accidentally pretty early on.
I mean, I did it accidentally too, but I didn't think to apply my DMC brain to Resident Evil.
Oh, they come from the same place.
I
Of course, you
know,
want to
dude.
apply
I
it.
should have. I know I should have, but I
You know, it's
didn't.
great. The part where Carlos's perfect dodge is a
Carlos is
punch.
great. Yeah, it
He does.
is.
He does like a falcon punch instead. It's
Dude,
fantastic.
it's so good. I love Carlos.
Yeah.
Was he in the original Resi 3?
Yeah, he
Or
was
is
in the
he
original
new?
Resi 3. He's
Okay.
yeah.
What I figured.
Yeah, he was in. I think you still play as him in the original version. It's been a long time, but he was not among the cut content of the Resi 3 remake because that was like the thing about Resident Evil 3 remake that upset a bunch of fans of the original was that it did kind of cut some things, and you know, it's been so long that I can't really remember the specifics of what they were or if it was that great, but it upset plenty of people who had wished it was there. So I guess there's something to that. It's just, you know, I'd say a symptom of the fact that it was going to be stitched in with 2.
I mean, yeah, I couldn't even tell that stuff was cut out. So
Yeah, I was gonna
probably
say, like,
wasn't important.
as like a new experience, it didn't compromise itself. Like they didn't cut anything
Yeah.
that made the game's experience in this version worse.
Right. No, very good video game, I'd say. I will say Nemesis is a lot more threatening than Mr. X was. Mostly for the fact that Nemesis can run and jump at you and use a bazooka.
So you know, it's funny because, you know, Nemesis, I didn't find him as effective as Mr. X was.
Really?
Mostly because most of his chase sequences. There's like two instances where he'll just be wandering around. And I feel like that's when he's most effective, when he is the obstacle between you and your destination. Most of his screen time, though, is he's just chasing you and you're running away in an Uncharted-esque kind of sequence. So, you know, it was definitely cool at the time when I played it the first time. I was like, oh, yeah, nice. But looking at it again, I think Mr. X. It's funny because Mr. X is far more like how Nemesis was in the original version, where Nemesis would just, in the original version of Resi 3, he would just pop up, bust through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man, and
My God.
and yell stars, and then like punch you in the mouth. It was great.
Was it the original Resi 3 where he breaks into a fucking safe room? Is that Resi 3 or is that Resi 2?
It would have been 3.
Yeah, in the original Resi 3, Carl, there's one safe room where the typewriter doesn't work, and then he just fucking busts through the fucking wall, and he's like, not a safe room, bitch. Like,
oh, that's awesome.
They ruined the sanctity of the safe.
No.
We're
losing Hunter. That is on our end. Ooh.
Oh no.
Oh no.
But I think no. Am I back?
Hello? Yeah, you're back. You're back. Okay. That was weird. That's okay. It's fine. We're okay.
Right.
What's the last thing I was saying?
Sanctity of the safe room.
Oh yeah, I was hoping they would do something like that in the remake, but I think when it became clear that most of Nemesis's parts were like set pieces, I gave up on that notion.
Oh well. Right, and to wrap it up, let's Shanti, you played Dead Space. This wasn't the first time you played Dead Space, was it?
Yeah, Dead Space 2, and this would be the first time I played this one.
For fuck's sake.
Change
my phone. Change my timestamps then.
Sorry.
Doesn't decide to tell us until now.
I said that. I went with that. But anyway, yeah, Dead Space 2. It is, in a lot of ways, more of the same as the other game, except it's toned up as far as, you know, it does the typical kind of a little bit more action this time. Very Aliens as opposed to Alien, where it's scarier in the way that a disaster or a natural disaster is, rather than the isolation of the other game being most of what is messing with you there. This one, they just kind of they throw things that are arguably more horrific at you. Like you walk through the setting of this one, instead of being on one ship, just out in the middle of space, you're on like a space station, I think on one of the moons of Saturn or something. I can't remember exactly. But
potato.
Yeah, that's where you're at. So one of the parts, I think in like chapter 5, I would say, you're walking through a school, like a elementary school, and at one point you literally peruse through a nursery, and there are necromorph babies, essentially, like babies that got necromorphed. I'm like, oh, all right. There's also like little toddler ones too, like little pint-sized die in one shot when they charge at you, kind of necromorphs as well. All of the crazy body horror stuff from the first game still is present, with seeing the little infection alien bat thing come by the dead bodies and then warp them into the twisted creations that you see harassing you throughout the game. This is the one that gave Isaac a voice, and thankfully he's not too chatty, and not chatty in a way that's like annoying, because that's like one of the things about the first game was really good about him being a silent protagonist, but they managed to animate his like terror very well, which is especially impressive because his face was always hidden behind that helmet. So like just the way he would move all panicked like when he was dying was very impressively done. That's still present here, and he's got, a voice that you would imagine to go with it. So it works out. And, it helps him deal with a lot of the crux of the story this time, is him dealing with all the issues that are plaguing him from the first game, psychologically, while dealing with these several people just trying to take advantage of him throughout the game. And he's just trying to escape and stick it to the first guy who, took advantage of him, while also making it out of this new necromorph disaster alive.
So how did you feel? Obviously, Dead Space 3 is the one that everybody hates. So
yeah, Dead Space 3 is the one that everyone dislikes. I didn't manage to finish it all the way because I was mostly done before I left last weekend. I was gonna finish it when I got home, but my plane got delayed. So I didn't finish it Sunday, or not Sunday. It would have been, I didn't finish it on Tuesday, and I didn't play it after that because I've been ill. So, but as far as like, so far, yeah, it's still functionally really good. Like it plays really well. It basically, gameplay wise, Dead Space took the next step that after Resident Evil 4, where, oh, now you've got the camera that, isn't horrible. So now Dead Space was the evolution in the gameplay where you're allowed to walk and aim at the same time, and 2 obviously kept the same thing.
Yeah.
I think most of the weapons are returning from the first game, but they're still a lot of fun. Like the little thing that shoots saw blades is really cool. The plasma cutter is still the absolute best thing to use all the time. I love it when the basic weapon is the best one. And then the other ones, like the rifle and all that, very good for. I'll give it to them in this. I got like 2/3 of the way through the game, and I was hit with less goofy set pieces, I think. The first game specifically, I remember around like chapter 6, there was this whole ordeal where there's an asteroid about to hit the ship, or a bunch of asteroids about to hit the ship, and you have to go take control of the ship's like main gun and shoot them into little bits before they can hit you. And that controlled like garbage. The reticle on the gun was so slidey, and the necromorphs couldn't have dreamed of killing me that many times. But there hasn't been anything like that this time. There have been a couple of intense, like, scripted chases that have been fine, and a couple of other things like that, but nothing like where I'm like, the remake could leave this behind, kind of thing.
No.
Oh yeah, that game is getting a remake.
Dead Space
Forgot
1, yeah.
about that. Forgot about
Yeah, yeah.
that.
I think they're taking ideas that were present in 2 and applying them to, like,
Does he have a
the
voice
first
in the
one.
remake?
Yeah,
I
the
feel
last
like they
trailer.
announced that he's had a he
Yeah,
has
the
a
last.
voice in
He's got the
remake.
same voice actor as he did before too.
Oh,
Yeah,
so they brought him back. That's good.
yeah. So yeah, they're giving him a voice, and I think that'll probably be fine. That's like one of the things where I can almost tolerate, or I can tolerate silent protagonists better in horror games, because oftentimes if you just have idiots screaming, it becomes very hard to deal with when you have to be with them for the 3 to 8 hours that one of these games might take place for.
Yeah.
Or like an Until Dawn where you've got a whole cast of idiots and almost none of them are good. Yeah, but I think it'll be fine that they add the voice in the first game, because it'll probably just work out.
You know,
Yeah.
we'll have to see. We'll have to see. I think
Yeah.
it'll do fine. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. But anyway, with that, I guess that ends our spooky episode of the HGO podcast. So spooky. Wow. The horror. But no, thank you very much for hanging out with us this week. Next week, who fucking knows? I don't. I have no clue.
I don't. Yeah. God of War won't be
It's
out
the
yet.
week before God of War, isn't it? Oh, darn.
Yeah.
Darn.
We don't have anything, like, there's no layup.
No, nothing. We've got God of War, then Pokemon.
Oh. Are you getting that?
I'm getting Pokemon.
I'm not.
Oh.
Of course I am. I'm getting Pokemon. I love a
Pokemon's
good bitch.
cringe.
Yeah, I love a good fucking hate spree. I'll buy it.
Maybe
Of
we
course I
can
will.
rope Sam into it.
We'll see.
He'll probably get it.
He'll buy it. Yeah, whether we can rope him into the podcast, that's another thing entirely. But
Try and
we
rope Jack into it. He's gonna get both of them.
No, Jack won't get him at all. He only bought Brilliant Diamond because it was Gen 4.
No.
He's
So
a
that's
weird
true.
one.
He didn't buy Sword and Shield.
Nope, he didn't buy Sword and Shield.
He didn't even buy Legends Arceus.
No. He's a
He
weird
didn't
one.
buy the good one. Why would he
No.
buy the bad ones,
He didn't
Hunter?
even buy Mario Party.
He literally bought the worst Pokemon games on Switch. Literally, out of the 4 different ones he could have bought, Let's Go Sword, and Brilliant Diamond or Arceus, he picked the fucking worst one. What a champion.
Thank you,
But
Jack.
anyway, well, who knows? We'll have to come up with something. Oh god, Hunter's passed the cough to me now. It's because I've been talking too much. Anyway,
No.
Well, you guys passed this to me. What are you talking about?
No,
True,
he's
I've
got
had
the
sick
ligma.
before.
I've had no voice for the whole week, so I'm shocked that I actually have been able to talk this much as is. So that's a win for me anyway. But anyway, as always, links are on screen. Right now, you can go follow us on Twitter to keep up to date with everything that we do outside of the podcast. Who knows what next week will hold? I don't. Will be some kind of filler. That's it. You stick your mask back on, Hunter. You go back. Get back
You
in your
think
den.
about what you did.
You think about what you've done. That'll really help with your cough. That mask will really help. Really help. Anyway.
We'll keep the germs away
Once he
from
figures out how to put it on.
Anyway, while Hunter does that, you can go follow us on Twitter at HotGamersOnly or subscribe to the YouTube channel at youtube.com/HotGamersOnly. And hey, if you don't want to look at our stupid faces, that's cool too. You can head to the link tree in the description or search Hot Gamers Only on your favourite podcast like Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And with that, that has been our episode. Thank you ever so much for hanging out with us this week. It's been fun. I'm very tired, but it's been fun. I don't know why I'm tired, but sometimes it does be like that. But anyway, we'll be back, same time, same place next week for more. But until then, have an awesome week. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.
See you later.
Toodaloo.